From Geppetto Studios in New Freedom, Pennsylvania, welcome to the Cosmic Geppetto Podcast, your home for inclusive, positive geek culture, where we talk about movies, comics, music, books, and whatever else we feel like. Please welcome your host. Want to see him lose his mind? Hum the first few bars of that song, I Like Big Butts? It'll be stuck in his head for days. Brad Mendenhall.
Hey kids, it is episode 290 of the Cosmic Geppetto Podcast. Another mini episode. I hope everyone's enjoying these. I'm having a lot of fun doing them. It's something that, I don't know, maybe I should have started doing earlier. I guess I just never felt interesting enough to do so. And also, we always had such great guests, which we will continue to have. But, yeah, I've enjoyed doing this. I think especially with what was happening in Philadelphia sports and the immediacy of that, I started getting on this groove, and it's been sort of fun. Of course, that's over now. The Phillies are not moving on to the World Series. They lost Game 7 4-2. And it was really a thing of they got ahead 2-0 in the series because Nick Castellanos, Kurt Schwarber, and Bryce Harper and Trey Turner all got hot at the exact same time. So these guys were hitting multi-home run games all at the same time. So you would have 4 or 5, 3, 4 home runs a game from those 4 guys. And sadly, they all got cold at the exact same moment. Now, it's a little deceptive because and there's all sorts of stats about how those 4 guys went like 1 for 20 in the last game over the last 2 games, how poorly they were hitting. Harper was hitting the heck out of the ball, but he was hitting it at people. It felt like at any time one of those balls was going to drop or was going to go that extra 5 feet and go out of the park. I really don't think he was in a slump per se. He just wasn't completely dialed in, and he was having a little bad luck. No, that's baseball. You got to hit the ball real hard, and you got to hit it real hard where one of the 9 players on the other side isn't. And the Diamondbacks had good defense, so their area on the field where they aren't is smaller than average. Schwarber was sort of same thing. He had a couple of well-hit balls, and he also got a couple of singles or a double here or there, but not enough. Trey Turner, not so much. And Castellanos, he just looked like he forgot which end of the bat was which happens. That's baseball, and unfortunately, it's a sport where you can look like world beaters one day and not the next. And also, you win a game 10-0, that's a win, and then you lose the next game 3-2 or 2-1 or whatever, and that's a loss. And you don't get to save those extra runs that you didn't need the day before. But overall, a good series, a good season for the Phillies, especially because they started off pretty weak, and Trey Turner having really 2/3 of the season where he was looking like a bust, and then he was able to sort of refocus and ended up having a great season. Nick Castellanos, who had a very poor 22 2022 season and really seem to find himself and get back to all-star or near all-star form this year. Bryce Harper, who was on the disabled list at the beginning of the season with after going through Tommy John surgery, ended up coming back, and it took a while before him to get his power back. Then he got his power back, and then really stepped up, and for the first time in his life, played first base and became a good defensive first baseman. And that had a lot of effect because it ended up shifting around a lot of pieces on the board that made the team better. Because he was able to play first base, he didn't have to be the DH. Kurt Schwarber became the DH, which got him out of the outfield where he was a liability, and the team became much better. I'm very interested to see what the next 2 years are going to be like, because you have a lot of players, famously Bryce Harper turned 31 in a game where he just knocked the stuffing out of a ball for a home run during the playoffs, and it was on his 31st birthday. He's 31 years old, and there's a lot of Phillies players that are in that 29, 30, 31 years old. Now, I am staring down the barrel at 50, so 31 seems like basically a child to me. But in the world of sports, in the world of baseball, that's middle age. And the concern is over the next couple of years, these players are going to get to 32, 33, 34 years old, and Father Time is undefeated. And you're going to see at least some of these players take a significant step back. Part of me believes that Bryce Harper can maintain, if not MVP quality, he can still have all-star quality play in him for the next 5 years. He's a very smart player. He's very driven. It's not just physical ability that makes him who he is. Kurt Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, Trey Turner, who are, by the way, they're all fantastic players, and they're all very intelligent, and they're all driven, but not to the, part of me doesn't think they are to the same superhuman levels of Bryce Harper. And just, not all of them can be great until they're great players until they're 40. That's just not how baseball works. There is also an interesting thing where Rhys Hoskins, a very important piece to the Phillies puzzle, first baseman for the Phillies over the last few years, to be counted on to hit 20 to 25 home runs, hit for decent average, playing first base. He was a great player to have bat before or after Bryce Harper. The guy who makes the other team pay because they pitch to Rhys Hoskins because they don't want to pitch to Bryce Harper, and then because they have to pitch to him and they can't pitch around him, he ends up knocking in 100 RBIs and getting 25 home runs. Those players are very important. He missed all season because during the preseason he got an injury that knocked him out for the season. He is a free agent. Will the Phillies pay the money to keep him on, or are they going to decide that Bryce Harper is the first baseman of the future, of the present and future, and spend that money elsewhere? I sort of think that's what's going to happen. I think Rhys Hoskins has proven to be a little bit redundant. I think there will be another team that's willing to pay him a good contract to be that solid first baseman.
Could you try?
Be that first baseman designated here. Sorry, my watch decided to talk. I think we might have come to the end of Rhys Hoskins' time with Philadelphia. It's a shame. He was a very good player. Well liked in the city. Another free agent, and this one's going to hurt, Aaron Nola, who was at times the ace, at times the co-ace, and times the number 2 pitcher for the Phillies. He is coming off a subpar season. He pitched a lot of innings and he threw a lot of strikeouts, but they also scored a good amount of runs and hit a lot of home runs against him. He has spent his entire career as a Philly, but he is not young in baseball terms. He's going to want, he's going to, and I don't know the exact numbers, but it's going to be one of these 5-year, $100 million contracts. And he's going to want 6 or 7 years, and he's going to want $25 million a year. And I don't think he is worth that contract. I think he could very well have a bounce back season and could make me look bad. But even if he has a 15 win, 2.75 ERA season next year, that's just 1 year. I don't think he has more than 2 good to very good seasons left in him. I think at most he has 2 good to very good seasons left in him, and then you're stuck with a number 4 or 5 pitcher getting paid $25 million a year, and I don't think he's worth it. So I think we're going to lose Aaron Nola, and it's tough losing a top-of-the-line starting pitcher. They don't grow on trees. I'm blanking on the first name, but the Phillies had a young rookie pitcher that they were hoping was going to have a great year this year, or a breakthrough rookie year. Painter is his last name. He pitched 1 preseason game, and Philadelphia sports media was all aflutter that he was going to be this ace in the making and he was going to contribute. But he had that 1 preseason game, and his arm felt a little twitchy afterwards, and then he had Tommy John surgery, and he will not play again until the 2025 season. They lost him for all of 2023, and they're going to lose him for all of 2024, and it'll be 2025 until he rejoins the Major League Philadelphia Phillies organization. It's heartbreaking because the timing would have been so perfect, where you have this top of the line pitcher who has sort of gotten to the other side of their peak, and then wishing him his best and let him get his big contract with another team where he doesn't quite live up to the contract, but gets paid as he deserves to, and then have this young, fresh face take over that spot. It would have been perfect, but that's not how the world works on sometimes. I think next season could be really interesting. I think the 2024 baseball season could be very interesting. The Phillies do have some young players, Johan Rojas, and a couple others who have shown something, but they need to start. They just haven't started hitting yet. And Alec Boehm, the third baseman for the Phillies, had a pretty good season, and seems to be the established third baseman of the Phillies. Next year could be really telling. Could it be the year where he's put on some weight, he's gained some confidence, he's become a solid big league defensive third baseman? Could it be the year where he really puts it together and starts smacking the heck out of the ball? This will be the first, 2024 will be the first season in a while where Bryce Harper will be going in at full strength. He'll have a full preseason or spring training, and he will have more time to get dialed in as a first baseman if that's where they decide to go with him. And it'll be very telling. Can he stay healthy the entire year? He hasn't had a full season since before the pandemic. Obviously, the pandemic doesn't count against him because nobody had a full season. But can he have that MVP caliber season? Can he stay healthy? And, if he can, all of a sudden you're looking at somebody batting 275 to 310 with 35 to 40 home runs, completely dialed in and comfortable. It could be magnificent, and it could be an MVP season. Will Remuto, the catcher for the Phillies, who is not a young man in that world, especially for the catcher, will he continue to be an all-star caliber catcher, or will he become just an average catcher, good behind the plate, hitting 230, 240 with 15 home runs, which for anyone else is good. That's what you want from a catcher. But he's been hitting, he's been a 260, 275, 20, 25 home run catcher, superlative behind the plate. Will those days, how much longer can he be that good? Bryson Stott, who is a finalist for the Gold Glove at second base, he's amazing. Probably the best defensive second baseman the Phils have had since Manny Trio in the 80s. But is a league average hitter, and can he dial that piece up? And who's going to pitch? You have Zach Wheeler. He is an ace. Ranger Suarez, who looked good to very good in the playoffs, but was a definite number 3 pitcher during the regular season. If Aaron Nola isn't signed, can Ranger Suarez step up? Or is there someone else that the Phillies can bring up? Or someone else that they can sign? The Phillies have never shown hesitancy to sign the big contract. Will Rice Hoskins remain? What's the outfield going to look like? Will Kurt Schwarber have another season next year where he hits 40-plus home runs while being 15, 20 points below the Mendoza line? I think 2024 will be interesting for that. I think 2025 could be a magnificent year. I think it also might be the end of the playoff window for the Phillies, because it'll probably be the last year where you could hope for all those big money players to still be at their peak. And then you'll have Painter back, and I think that could be where they really dial in. I really think Painter could be the key to the Phils' next World Series. I think he could supplant Zach Wheeler as the ace for the team, which is a lot to put on a guy who isn't going to play for 2 years and he's going to be a rookie. But that's how exceptional his stuff looks. Have him come in, become the co-ace of the team, get that last great year out of Wheeler. And if everyone's healthy and everyone's dialed in and everyone's still at their peak, again, it'll be right at the edge of the peak. I have a feeling that 2026, this team is going to need some major retooling and rebuilding, because that's how baseball works. But I think the next 2 years are going to be really interesting. I'm hoping it all ends up with 1 or maybe 2 World Series rings. It's tough to win a championship in baseball. The playoff format, which by the way benefited the Phillies immensely this year. So I'm not going to complain about it because, live by the sword, die by the sword. But it's very tough to get to that top level because you go through this arduous 162 game season and then follow that up with best of 3, best of 5 to get to the best of 7 championship series and then the best of 7 World Series. So it's so hard where being built to win the regular season requires differences than being built to win the World Series, to win the playoffs. So, fingers crossed. It was a great season, and it was it was a nail biter to the end. So, last episode, I talked a bit about how I'm not watching a lot of TV, and there are very few television programs that get my consistent interest. It was last episode. It was either the last episode or the episode before. And I realized there are exceptions to that, but I don't even think about these shows because they're shows that I started watching because they were programs my kids liked. And I'm thinking specifically of Phineas and Ferb, which was announced is going to get 40 new episodes. And those who aren't familiar, Phineas and Ferb, it was a Disney animated show about stepbrothers who get into wacky adventures during the summer. And the show has great recurring jokes, would actually have a little bit of character development over the life of the show, some excellent voice work, some great music, and then also, in one way it's a shame that the show's coming back, because it tied up the show in one of the better final episodes you could ever hope for. Then the creators Dan Povenmire, who has a great social media presence, and I apologize for getting his last name wrong. He and his partner on Phineas and Ferb, Swampy Marsh, who I got a cameo for my kids for. He actually gave a happy first day of school message for my kids, which was very nice. And he sang a song to them. But Povenmire and Marsh then did the show Milo Murphy's Law, which starred the vocal talents of Weird Al Yankovic. And Milo Murphy's Law about a young man named Milo Murphy who has terrible luck, Murphy's Law. And very clever, very smart, again, really good character work, very likable characters, and great recurring jokes. Milo Murphy's Law lasted 2 seasons. It never seemed to get the same, never achieved the same popularity. And in fact, in the second season, they had a crossover with Milo Murphy had a crossover with Phineas and Ferb, and then a great supporting player in Phineas and Ferb, Dr. Doofenshmirtz, became a regular character on the second season of Milo Murphy's Law. I'm sure they were trying to pull in some of the fandom from the former show. Which, smart idea. Sadly, it apparently did not work. The show did not continue after the second season. I'm not even sure if there was ever an official cancellation. It just, they stopped making episodes. Then Povenmire without Marsh did a new show called Hamster and Gretel. And it was about a young girl named Gretel and her pet hamster, who are given superhero powers by alien beings. And it's a great parody and humorous take on the superhero genre. Same thing as always. Great character work, great vocal talent, very clever, good use of music, and I think it might be a little more, might skew a little younger than the other two shows, but very good show. And so those are three Dan Povenmire shows. Povenmire and Marsh have had a history of working in adult animation. They, I believe, both had worked on Family Guy. And Family Guy, weird show. It was it's been on way too long, and it was a show I watched regularly, but I never loved it. I loved The Simpsons. The Simpsons is still my all-time favorite show. At its peak, it was brilliant, and even past its peak, it's better than 95% of whatever else is on television, and people don't give it credit for that. That although universally recognized that it is no longer a brilliant program, it's still very good. It's hard to watch for a lot of fans. It's hard to watch the 30-second episode content and get a couple of laughs maybe and appreciate that it's a well-structured show with superlative vocal talent. When you remember, the episode with Stampy the Elephant, or the episode where Mr. Burns gets shot by Maggie, or any of the other classics, where I recently rewatched some episodes related to the Halloween House of Horror, the Tree House of Horror. There in some of the classic, from the classic years, and just the depth and the cleverness of the jokes and how amazing the writing was. Just joke after joke after joke, and each one perfect for the plot of the episode. So you had these really good, intricate, clever, affecting plot lines. And it was just astounding how great that show was. So now it's just a good show. Well, fine. I mean, you can find good shows everywhere. Also, and this is heartbreaking, the show's been on for over 30 years, and you do... Marge doesn't sound like Marge anymore. Was it Julie Kavner, I believe, who voices Marge? Her voice sounds rough, and so it's a little... It's tough. These characters are getting older. They have, and this rightfully, they have recast some of the vocal talent because some of the actors were voicing characters of different race, and I guess it wasn't even given a thought in the 80s when The Simpsons started, and now realizing that's not cool. But it's weird when Dr. Hibbert doesn't sound like Dr. Hibbert, and Apu has not appeared on the show in years. and I don't think will ever appear again. I think there was an official statement that that character has been retired. And it's tough because, on one hand, it was right. Because basically, Hank Azaria, who voiced Apu, was told, like, make it as offensive as possible. Ugh. That's uncomfortable. And I'm of two minds of it. On one hand, Apu was one of the most charming and sweet and likable characters on that show. He was smart, he was kind, he was good-natured, and so it's a shame to lose that character. But he was also a racist stereotype, the Indian man with the stereotypical accent running a convenience store. You cannot get around that. And no matter how likable or charming or sweet he is, there's that. And I actually, and I'm saying all this, but when it comes down to, I really don't get a say. I joked yesterday about how white I am, and the joke was like, I'm just very white. I say okie dokie all the time, unironically, and you know, I also have a podcast. That is some white people stuff, and it was a joke and laugh. But as is often the case with jokes, there's a basis in reality where I am a middle-class white guy in my 40s. I really don't get a say about how offensive or non-offensive the character of Apu is on The Simpsons. And although I like the character, I can't argue with anyone who says that it's a stereotype and doesn't belong on a TV show. I just don't. So I get to miss the character and I get to enjoy the old episodes with him. But I completely recognize that he should be... The character outlived his time on that program. So, I've talked about the 3 Dan Pomeroy shows, Popemeyer shows. Another kids program that I think is excellent is Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. And Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, based on a sort of little-known Marvel property. There used to be a comic called Moon Boy and Devil Dinosaur, which had a red dinosaur and a monkey-human hybrid. It was never a wildly popular combo or comic. And then probably 5 to 10 years ago, Moon Boy got written out and was replaced by a brilliant African-American young woman who became Moon Girl. And that is and she teamed up with Devil Dinosaur. And that is the team up that you have on this animated show. And the animation is great. It's kinetic. It also has a viewpoint where you have a young African-American girl living in the city with this amazing family, and everyone's likable and charming, and the artwork is really unique and kinetic, and the action is very engaging. Wonderful stories. telling stories that you don't see. They had a great episode where Moon Girl was upset that she didn't like her hair, and there's been plenty of talk and discussion about the way young women of African American descent are made to feel about their hair, and they turn it into like a superhero story where she gets a solution to her hair, and then her hair has become sentient and battles her because she didn't accept her hair and didn't love her hair. And it was really good stuff and really smart and a unique viewpoint. And most important, the music is so good. The actress who plays Moon Girl, and I'm blanking on her name because I'm in a car, she was a contestant on, I want to say, The Voice. It might have been American Idol or America's Got Talent, but but that's who she was. She was somebody who had this amazing talent and, competed on a nationally televised TV show. So she has the chops, and the songs, and they're very different and very fun, and once I saw the first episode, I actually went on to my music streamer and listened to the album, and really good stuff. Great theme song. I don't want to miss the theme song to Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. So these are all nominally kids shows, but they're kids shows that are better than a lot of anything else that you'll see on TV. Dan Povenmire had his finger in 3 of them, and the other one, possibly my favorite Marvel property of the last year and a half. So something worth checking out. All right. Well, this has been another fun mini episode, and we'll talk again soon. Until then, as Jarf likes to say,
see you in the funny pages.
Subscribe to the Cosmic Geppetto podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever quality podcasts can be found. Rate and review us while there. Follow us on Twitter at CosmicGPod, and we will follow you back. Unless you're a jerk. We don't follow jerks. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cosmic Geppetto. We love hearing your ideas for upcoming episodes. Email us at cosmicgeppetto@comcast.net. And that completes my final report until touchdown. We're on automatic and we're in the hands of the computers.